The Supreme Court issued another ruling. This is 2 in a row since Tuesday that is destructive to the safety and security of people in this country. But this is what the fascist Christian Supreme Court is supposed to do, and it is doing its job. So the Supreme Court this morning issued their ruling. They struck down a New York law that had been designed to place limits on carrying guns outside of one's home. And the Christian fascist Supreme Court said, no. That interferes with the Second Amendment. Well, this was only the court's second major statement on the broader scope of individual constitutional right that the Second Amendment supposedly guarantees to keep and bear arms. And this is the first ruling, according to the New York Times, on how that right applies to firearms in public places. I'll tell you, this obviously is a very critical ruling because now the gun nuts in this country are going to say, we can carry any weapon we want to carry, any place we want to carry it, and we will not be coerced into getting a permit to prove that we have to carry it. That's what this ruling was about. So in the cities and states that had tried to put a stop to gun crimes, mass killings by putting restrictions on who can carry guns, this Supreme Court ruling today destroys that whole idea. Well, the vote was 6-3. You know who voted to allow more murder in the streets of this country, all 6 fascist Christians. And you know the 3 justices who voted to try to bring some kind of sanity to the insanity that we have in this country around guns. Didn't work. See, the New York law required that people who wanted a license to carry a handgun outside their homes had to show what the state of New York termed a proper cause. You know, why do you need it? What do you do that you feel puts you in jeopardy to the point where you might have to defend yourself with a gun? Huh? Now, there are other states that have similar laws: California, Hawaii, Maryland, Massachusetts, New Jersey, Rhode Island. So those laws in those states are now gone. And the case came, these 2 men, Robert Nash and Brandon Koch. It's Koch. I don't know if it's pronounced in that particular case as Koch, could be any, but let's call him Koch. Brandon Koch and Robert Nash. And they said they were denied the licenses to carry that they saw in New York. And their lawsuit said that, quote, the state of New York makes it virtually impossible for the ordinary law-abiding citizen to obtain a license, end quote. Now, these 2 guys were authorized to carry guns for target practice and hunting away from populated areas. That's what New York State officials who are trying to protect their law told the Supreme Court. And Mr. Koch was allowed to carry a gun to and from work. So they had permit carries. They were restricted permit carries, just like there are restrictions on free speech in this country. New York Solicitor General, who represented the state of New York before the Supreme Court, she told the justices in her brief, quote, Nash and Koch did not receive unrestricted licenses because neither demonstrated a non-speculative need to carry a handgun virtually anywhere in public. So what the New York Solicitor General was doing was putting the burden back on the 2 people that appealed to the Supreme Court. I mean, why do you need to carry a handgun? And the Supreme Court has essentially ruled with this ruling, there doesn't have to be a reason. You can carry a handgun because you can carry a handgun because of the Second Amendment. Now, the Supreme Court back in 2008, what I have here says, in that case, there was a case, District of Columbia versus Heller. And in that case, the Supreme Court recognized an individual right to keep guns in your own home for self-defense. And since that ruling, the Supreme Court has been silent on the scope of Second Amendment rights until today. And the truth is, the Supreme Court, in its various representations, the Supreme Court for years turned down countless appeals in Second Amendment cases. And in the meantime, while the Supreme Court was turning down these cases, lower courts generally sustained these local gun control laws. I guess the lower courts figured, well, the people who are making the laws in New York or New Jersey or Tampa or Atlanta, they know their population, their people, their area, the degree of craziness, the degree of potential murders. They know enough, local officials, to pass certain laws that restrict to a certain degree the right of a person to carry a goddamn gun. Well, no more. The court has been divided on the question posed by the case from New York, and that is whether states can stop law-abiding citizens from carrying guns outside their homes for self-defense unless, and this is what the case was about, like I mentioned, unless people can satisfy the authorities that they have a good reason to carry a gun, that they really need one. You can think of people who carry large sums of money, or people who carry jewelry. I can think of a number of reasons why a person might want to have protection. And the state of New York was just saying, well, okay, show us why. We're not going to just grant licenses to people to carry guns. Well, the Supreme Court has said license, schmeisens. What are you talking about? That's a restriction on the Second Amendment. The holy, sacrosanct Second Amendment, more important than the blood of Jesus H. Christ. This is madness. Madness. Last year, for instance, U.S. Court of Appeals in the Ninth Circuit, that's in San Francisco, they heard a case where Hawaii's law was being challenged. And the law in Hawaii was, okay, if you want a permit to carry a gun, tell us why you need it. And we'll decide if you really need it. Well, the appeals court in the Ninth Circuit upheld that law and said, yeah, that's okay, by a vote of 7-4. That law now is gone. And at that time, there was a judge on the appeals court in San Francisco. It says here his name was Jay Bybee. Sounds familiar. He was appointed by George W. Bush. And for that 7-4 majority vote, Judge Bybee wrote this, quote, "Our review of more than 700 years of English and American legal history reveals a strong theme, and that is government has the power to regulate arms in the public square." End quote. That's after reviewing 700 years of Anglo-American history about carrying weapons. And this appeals court judge said, look, you know, yeah, the government has the power to regulate. But one could imagine the three Trump scum who now sit on the Supreme Court, the drunk, the hysteric Catholic, and the incompetent, along with the lump that sits in the corner, whose wife is trying to overthrow the government, along with Sammy the Fish Alito, who is an insane Catholic, and then poor old John Roberts. What the fuck are you doing in that ruling, John Roberts? But that was the makeup. Those were the 7 people. I'm sorry, the 6 people in today's ruling who said, nah, we want more guns on the street. We want less reason to keep guns away from people. So this law this bill that's supposedly working its way through the House and the Senate, put together by a bipartisan group of Democrats and Republicans, 2 words for that, bullshit. Oh, wait, that's 1 word. Okay, bullshit. That's going nowhere. Oh, my God. And there was, on the other hand, he said, in a federal appeals court in Chicago, struck down an Illinois law that banned carrying guns in public. Federal court in Chicago said, nah, you can't have that law. And a federal appeals court in Washington struck down a restrictive D.C. law that the court said amounts to, quote, a total ban on most D.C. residents' right to carry a gun, end quote. You know, carrying a gun in this country is never going to go away. Mass killing is never going to go away. It just isn't. So what do? Do you say to your 12-year-old, your 7th grader, okay, daughter, come with me. We're going to go to a shooting range, and Daddy is going to help you learn how to fire a Glock 9mm. And when school starts this fall, you'll be carrying it in your backpack because that's the only way I can think of to protect you, my daughter, unless I go to school with you or hire an armed guard, which I doubt the school board would let in. So somehow we're going to have to get you in the school with a weapon in your backpack so you can defend yourself, because the Supreme Court says there's no reason. As a matter of fact, it's unconstitutional to restrict a person's right to carry guns. Now, does that apply to 12-year-olds? Well, a 12-year-old's an American citizen, right? I think it applies based on what this Supreme Court is doing, what the fascist Christians are doing. Pretty soon, they'll say, well, a fetus has a right to own a gun. But you dumb fucker, the fetus can't pick up the gun. The gun is bigger than the fetus. Well, then there'll be a surrogate for the fetus. That could be the potential mom or the potential dad. So dad or mom then can carry 2 guns, one for themselves and one for the fetus. You see where this is going, right? So the fact that the U.S. Supreme Court showed this reluctance to hear Second Amendment cases, that all changed as the political persuasion on the court became more and more fascistic. And then with Trump's 3 appointees, you know, Neil Gorsuch, the guy who shouldn't be there, Mr. Invisible, he just shouldn't be there. That wasn't his seat. That was Merrick Garland's seat. And then you have the drunk rapist, Brett Kavanaugh, and Amy Catholic Barrett, the hysterical Catholic woman. All 3 of those jerk-offs have expressed support for gun rights. Not the right of children to be safe in schools, not the right of worshipers to be safe in synagogues, temples, and churches. Oh, no. Oh, fuck no. Not the right of people to be safe in nightclubs or grocery stores, or even outside concerts or in a club. No, no, no. Fuck all that. Guns have rights. Guns are sacrosanct in America. Not life, not children, not old people shopping, not black folk worshiping, not Jews in synagogue. This is just sick. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. As you know, we've switched formats and are now broadcast exclusively on the Progressive Voices Network. So that means you get fewer program interruptions, no corporate commercials, and lots of profanity. But our format change also means some of our radio listeners no longer hear the program. It's been a while since I mentioned our podcasts, so you may have forgotten that there is a way to listen to this program anytime you need a good dose of screaming. Visit MikeMalloy.com and subscribe to our podcast. As a podcast subscriber, you can download the program to your mobile device and take me with you wherever you go. And if you have a friend who needs a dose of truth-seeking, you can give a gift subscription as well. That's MikeMalloy.com, and never miss a minute of the uncensored fun and frivolity.